There are links to all of Rick's social media, including his website where you can sign up to take the Canadian Firearms Safety Course, which is a prerequisite for obtaining your Canadian Firearms License, also known as a PAL. Rick teaches these courses in Maple Bay just east of Duncan on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Now here's your host, Rick Skolrud.
Hey Jennifer, thanks for tuning in. So, second live stream this week. I didn't think I'd be doing a week with 2 live streams, but of course, we had that significant event on Tuesday. Can't believe it. It lasted for 7 hours. Actually more than 7 hours. Then I got up on Wednesday, and lo and behold, YouTube said that I have some sort of a claim against it, a copyright claim, because there was music in the background and something else, just goofy. I've challenged it though, because it's clearly fair use, right? And it's covering a significant world news event, in my opinion. So just gonna turn on a couple more lights here. Yeah, so Trump is in. Hello, Harley from Redcliffe. So Trump is in. Hopefully, everything that we hope to come of that will come of that. That the economy will start to boom and whatnot. And of course, Parliament is going a little bit nuts because of it. It hasn't, it's not too out of control, but I tell you what, the Liberals are just completely bizarre. They are just bringing out all of the same lines that they always do, blaming conservatives for everything. It's quite funny, actually. Now, of course, the videos or what they think is going to happen is the conservatives believe that there's going to be jobs going south of the border, of course, and then we've got all of the immigrants that people are expecting to come to Canada. If you recall, I think it was on Monday, the Bloc was asking the Liberals, well, what is your plan? How are we going to do this? Hello, Philip from Clarazone. And Simon. Hello, Simon. So we got all this. I'm not going to play any of the meltdown videos because that's there's just too many of them. But on Monday, the Bloc were asking the Liberals, well, what is your plan? How are you going to deal with this? And of course, Mark Miller gets up and says, well, we're not going to say 24 hours before an election what we're going to do. That would be irresponsible of us. So, of course, now 24 hours, or actually 48 hours after the election, they're still asking the same questions. And guess what? The Liberals still aren't answering. Now they're saying, well, it would be irresponsible to tell our plan, to make our plan public so that people can, subvert these plans. They don't have a plan. That's just hilarious. They just don't have a plan. Hello, Simon from Quebec. Jennifer Francis, hi at Canada RV. Tracy, hello from Vancouver Island. You're just north of me, I think, at Nanaimo. Is that right, Tracy? And JCP from Calgary. Hello, how you doing? Canada RV. Oh, hi, Canada. Okay, Jennifer is not from Canada RV, but there's Canada RV there. So so they're just crazy. I'm going to play a couple of clips here of what was happening in Parliament. And I tell you, I think the first one I'm going to do is this clip here. Pipelines is what I'm calling it, because Trudeau clearly is lying about pipelines, but not only does he clearly lie, He's just not bright enough to think on his feet. Take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it.
Conservatives approved and saw the completion of 4 pipelines with no tax dollars to subsidize them. And we believe businesses should make money rather than take money. By contrast, this Prime Minister has pushed $100 billion of energy investment out of Canada, most of it into the United States. And once again, I can imagine that the champagne will be popping over at the Trump Tower when they find out how much more Canadian money this Prime Minister wants to send south. Why does he want to kill Canadian jobs? Why don't we bring home production and paychecks for our people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Leader of the Opposition just admitted that he wouldn't have put a penny into TMX. He wouldn't have made it happen. This is something that matters to Alberta. It matters to the oil workers there.
You know, it's almost like he's not in the same room. Does he not hear what's going on? Does he not realize what Pierre just said? Yeah, pipelines got built under Harper, and they didn't have to spend the money on it. But he's a socialist. He figures that it only counts if Canadian taxpayers go into debt paying for government projects that they didn't need to have to pay for. They didn't need to pay for these because the private sector was paying for them. This guy is a complete idiot. As you can see, Trudeau's just really out to lunch. I mean, he's not even paying attention to what is going on in question period. But I watched that interview that Celine, I can't remember what her last name is, one of his ministers that left, and during the first 4 years, and she did that interview with Jordan Peterson, I think it was last week. And it was crazy how he treats people. It's just, really stupid. But, she talks about how and Jordan mentioned this as well, he's not really tuned in. He's not paying attention to what's going on. He's not really even into the government or running the government. So as you saw in that clip there, he's saying that the Conservatives didn't build any pipelines, as if it's only up to the government to build pipelines. Well, there were 4 pipelines built under Harper. It's not up to the government to build everything. Okay, the government's job is to create an environment where private industry functions and works. But no, he's such a socialist. He believes that the government should run everything, own everything, run everything. It's just crazy. So it looks like my on-screen, let's see here. Looks like my on-screen is not working. I had like the pop. Let's see here. I'll try this again to just to see if I can bring up the live chat on the screen. And it doesn't look like it's going to work. I don't know why. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm really have no idea sometimes why things work on YouTube and why things don't. It's crazy. So, this was working on Tuesday. It's not working tonight. I don't know. Let's see here. I'm going to just delete that and see if that works. Who knows? I don't know. But it's up. I can see it on the other screen. So he's just not tuned in. He's claiming that there were no obviously, that there were no pipelines built, but there were 4 pipelines built. It's just, for him, it's just a matter of, well, the government didn't build them, so they didn't get built. And it's kind of like this social housing they keep on talking about. Well, there was tons of affordable housing built under Harper, but because the government didn't build it, they don't count it. Of course, we have, Count Von Count there, from Sesame Street in question period, always counting on his fingers. He can count to 6. He had something in his hands a couple months back, and he was doing that counting to 6 thing, and he had to put it down so he could count all the way to 6. Just wondering if it was 11, what would he do? Have to take off his shoes? They're such a joke. So, yeah, he is obviously not tuned into what's happening. He thinks that it's the responsibility of the government to build everything. But as before I get to the one main video I wanted to play tonight because I thought it was funny. Here's something, a blast from the past. I believe it was Reagan who said this, but it could have been that he was quoting somebody else. Just take a look at this.
Given that we've just seen an American election, I think I can quote another American president who could aptly describe the Prime Minister's economic policy. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. If it stops moving, subsidize it. Right. Yeah. Instead of doing none of the above, which would allow our entrepreneurs to actually build things on their own without sticking taxpayers with the bill. He wants to know our common sense plan? We will repeal the unconstitutional C-69. We will scrap the cap. We will axe the tax. Why won't he call a carbon tax election so that we can...
So, if anybody knows who the original, who originally said that, let me know. I think it was Reagan, but he may have been quoting somebody else. He may have been quoting somebody from, like, I don't know, a century before him. I thought it'd be fun though to get you guys' opinion. Reagan happens to be my favorite president from during my lifetime. I mean, obviously, when I was a young kid, in the 60s, I wasn't really too aware. Became aware of things when Nixon and whatnot came to power. But really still wasn't paying attention. I was only 6 when in 1970. So when I turned 8, we moved out to the Lower Mainland, Vancouver. So from Edmonton. So I tell you what, it's just my favorite president. The guy that I thought got things done the best was Reagan. Yeah, Brad agrees. Great. I don't know, maybe it was Reagan that said that. Nicole says Lincoln, RFK, Reagan is... Well, if you were alive during Lincoln's time, that's pretty impressive, Simon. But I think Lincoln was probably the best of all the presidents, just because of what he got done. But of course, back then you didn't have television or, the media that we have now. So just knowing what the person was like is questionable. But definitely from my lifetime, Ronald Reagan, RFK, JFK was a little bit before my time. And, obviously Trump, I like what Trump did, and I'm warming up to his personality. But I'm glad that he's in. I think that we needed him back. Yeah. So Trudeau looked pale and afraid when he said his congrats to Trump. He should be afraid. He's losing. He's going to lose big time next October, hopefully before that time. But I think it's looking less and less likely. the only people who can bring down the government essentially is the NDP, because we know that the Bloc and the that the Bloc and the Conservatives are going to vote to take down the government. But so now it's all up to Jagmeet, whether or not he's going to support the Bloc or not, because we know he would never support Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre is just a little bit too outspoken against Jagmeet. So it's yeah. Let's read some of the comments here. Trump did just save America. You know, and America's safe. I think the world is now going to be safe, but we can only guarantee that for 4 years. I mean, seriously, it's a 4-year term. That's his last. He'll be out. You know, who's going to come in after that? A bit too early to maybe worry about that. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens now with the Ukraine war and the Gaza war. You know, because, you know, you got to think of what would really, what you think would happen there. So Jason, the conservative guy, says that in his lifetime, he liked Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Okay, well, I'm not going to judge. He did like his cigars. Yeah. The Bloc are useful. Well, they're useful in some ways, I guess, now that if they can take down the government. And I think that they would be useful if they do actually convince Jagmeet to vote for them, with them, in taking down the government. Vance, hopefully he will get in after Trump. That would be great. But you know, I think he's still unproven, though. Vance is still a bit unproven. I like him. I like his personality. I like how he stands up to the press. It seems like he's got a solid head on his shoulders, and that his policies are in the right place. And I didn't even know anything about him until after the convention, or actually at the convention. It would be very interesting to see. But yeah, I think that he, I would like to see that what happens there. Is he going to live up to expectations? I think that he will. Jennifer says that Vance is a Yale graduate. Yes. But was he a Skull and Bones member? I don't know. Could have been. Might have been. You know, one of our guys in Parliament, Jamil Giovanni, was I don't know if he was Vance's roommate, but he was a good friend of Vance when he was there. So that'll be interesting in and of itself, like what kind of connection they will be. I'm hoping that the connection is a lot better than last time. We've got a year of Trudeau just messing things up, and then you know, God willing, Pierre Poilievre gets in, and we can turn our country around, and hopefully before that time. But we can only hope. I would also like to see, I don't know if Donald Trump Jr. will run in 2028. He, Philip was saying that. I'm thinking other people might. I'm actually thinking that Tulsi might be chosen as the vice president. But that will depend on how well she does in Trump's administration and what position that she gets. You know, then there's other, Elon can't, because he's not born in America. He's not born American, but Avec could. Avec is one of J.D. Vance's close friends too, so that's a possibility there. I think though that if you're looking for somebody that has more of a broader reach to the population and is very, I think, level-headed, you know, Tulsi might be a good choice. Now, I know some people have said some negative things about her, saying that she's a bit weird, bit off a little bit, but I don't know. I've never picked up on that. But being a lieutenant colonel, in the Hawaiian National Guard, I think says a lot to her character. You don't get that high in the ranks, you know, without, you know, having something going for you, because she actually served in a war zone, not like Tampon Tim there, who you know, cut bait and ran as soon as he was facing a deployment. So yeah. So let's go on to some of the other things I wanted to talk about. Before I get to the big one, let's talk about what is really happening with our oil and natural gas, and we'll just roll this and then talk about it.
Bad enough for the Prime Minister to want to give our energy jobs to the Americans who've doubled their production over the last couple of decades, but he wants to actually give it over to the Venezuelan, Iranian, and Russian dictatorships by cutting Canadian energy production by 35%. Mr. Speaker, the Americans reduced their emissions by more than, while ours went up, by increasing natural gas production and using it to replace dirty coal. We could do exactly the same. Why won't he follow a common sense plan to produce more clean, green Canadian energy rather than giving our jobs to dirty dictators?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Performance was designed to distract from is the fact that under the Conservative government of Mr. Harper and that current leader, they couldn't get anything built. We built the Trans Mountain Pipeline extension. We built TMX. We understand that getting good prices for our oil was important, not just for Alberta, but for the entire Canadian economy. And we are moving forward to make sure that even as the oil companies are making record profits, we're putting a cap on emissions, not on production, not on profits, but on emissions, because Canadians care.
Hello, Jolene. I see that you've just joined us, and CQ hadn't seen you earlier today, so welcome. Yes, so Jason, the Conservative guy, you were being sarcastic about Bill Clinton. Yeah, you know, you never can tell. So I didn't want to make any real judgments, but yeah, Bill. Just imagine if Danielle Smith is PO'd. Why is she PO'd? I don't know. But I just had a thought and then I lost it. I got to reading what was going on there. Yeah. So so we got all this stuff that Trudeau's doing, you know, and that is just really contrary to good business sense, but also the environment in and of itself. So we have Europe and Asia asking for our clean LNG, and we're not selling it to them. And this is old news, obviously. He said we didn't have a business plan for it. What a stupid thing to say. Like, what business plan do you need to come up with, hey, let's sell you this commodity that you need, that you want, and that will make us money? It doesn't make any sense at all. You know, and then he just changes his tune. And as Pierre pointed out yesterday, that we're selling our oil and giving jobs to dirty dictators. and we're buying oil, I should say, from dirty dictators, and really sending our jobs south of the border, and hopefully just to America, but even further south. So that is really a problem, in my opinion, because we're enriching people and countries that don't like us and that don't operate on the same moral standard as we do. Look at Venezuela. Venezuela, while I'm sure it was once a nice country, is just so full of corruption and so far down the communist rabbit hole. How can we even think about doing anything that would support that country? And that's one of the things I see with Trudeau, is he doesn't look beyond what his own personal interests, and he's not out for Canada. And this last clip that I queued up today, I thought was really funny. I did at well, let's just play it and then we can laugh about it afterwards.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, when we were in government, we didn't have to offer $30 billion bailouts for pipelines because they made money. That's how business works. He wants to create a bailout economy. And let's clarify how this worked. Yeah, let's. $30 billion. $7 billion of which went to a Texas oil company, which took our tax dollars down to Texas to build American pipelines. Mr. Speaker, all our exes are in Texas. Why don't we bring home those jobs for Canada?
All my exes live in Texas. That is a pretty good line, but I think it kind of went over Justin's head there because he doesn't understand good music. And of course, he's going to come up and say something completely stupid right now.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we just heard it very clearly from the Leader of the Conservative Party. He would not have built the TMX pipeline. Right. Mr. Speaker, we know how important it is to make sure we get a good price for our oil so we can invest in the kinds of solutions and technologies that are going to continue to create prosperity and opportunity for energy workers, not just in Alberta, but right across the country. We will continue to be there to invest in a stronger future by understanding that renewables are an important part of the future, but we need to be able to pay for them. The Conservative leader does not understand how to build a strong future or how to build a strong economy.
I apologize for my crappy singing there, but I couldn't help myself. You can't put a clip of somebody actually doing the music, so I couldn't put a clip of George Strait in there without losing or getting a strike against me. So had to you gotta put up with me making fun of Trudeau in that way. I'm wondering if Trudeau even has any clue about the about the joke that ParlVu made there. I don't think he does. I don't think he would. He's just not that bright. But I see like Enbridge from Calgary moving or opening up a plant down in Texas. Why? Because financially it just makes sense. And I think that we will see, especially in the next year, a lot of companies moving south because it just makes financial sense. Why wouldn't they? And that's one of the reasons that I'm just so I would be so much in favor of a merger between Canada and the U.S. because of that, financially, economically, like the economics of it, the economy, just the cooperation that would happen, and you wouldn't have to worry about building pipelines and getting approval for international pipelines because it would be state to state, and that's what I like to see there. State to state would be just so much better. So we have that, and then I read something today, and it was quite funny. I read it. It just came out today. I'm going to be doing a hello, Salt and Light. I'm going to be putting a video out. I'm going to make it after this video. I've got some stuff already queued up for the editor. My editor. I do my own editing, but the editor, I'm talking about the program that I edit in, and that is how much people like Trudeau are actually polluting. They're actually doing the polluting. Now, the thing about it is I'm not taking a stance on the carbon issue here, because the truth is the UN and everything we hear about the carbon issue, there's another side to it that we don't hear, and we don't hear enough about. But if you're interested, check out a guy named Dr. Patrick Moore. He's from Vancouver Island here. He used to be one of the leaders, one of the founders of Greenpeace, and a lot of his stuff is very informative. There's also a guy, William Happer, from I don't think he's not from Stanford. He's from Princeton University, and there's other people too. So it's very interesting to hear what other people have to say about those issues. So check out what they say. But what I found really interesting, and I read this article on PBS. So they have, they're not just a television network in the States, public broadcasting, but they also have, written publications. So I was reading an article, and it was about the top polluters in the world and the carbon emissions, like who's emitting all of this carbon. And it turns out that the billionaire class, the 1%, is polluting in a 2-hour period of time when they fly their private jets around everywhere. They can pollute 1,000 times more than what a normal person would pollute in a year. So I mean, it's crazy, just insane. And Trudeau may not be the billionaire class, or at least not what we know. I mean, he's probably got close to $1 billion hidden away somewhere, but he flies around more than any other prime minister before him flew around. He's always on the go, and you can say, well, yeah, he's bringing a whole lot of people with him, his entourage, but the flights are for him. So it is like one person is doing the polluting. And to top that off, not everybody in his entourage flies with him. Some of them go down before him and come back after him, such as his RCMP advanced team, his security team, and diplomats and whatnot. So he's traveling around the world, polluting probably more than the billionaire class. I would imagine that, with the exception of, Trump during his election, Trudeau is polluting more than probably anybody else, probably even more than Biden. Well, Biden never made it out of, barely made it out of his basement, but Trudeau's flying around, and in 2 hours and 1 minute, in a 2-hour and 1 minute flight, they burn more carbon than a 1,000 normal people can burn in a year. So that's just insane. And then when you look at all of the other flights that have to be taken to support him, it's just nuts. Normally if you and I fly, we're flying commercial. when I did have my own plane and I was flying, it wasn't a jet, and I had it on MoGas actually, so I was auto fuel, so it was quite a bit better. But when you consider that you and I fly commercial, so and most of us are not in any class where we can upgrade to business or first class. We're flying economy, right? So there's 200 other people on the plane sharing that carbon burden, and those planes are probably even a bit more efficient than the planes that a lot of these billionaires are flying in. And one thing in that in that article that I found hilarious, hilarious in the fact that it was ironic, was that more carbon was burnt going to, or put in the atmosphere, going to the climate change conferences than anything else. So all of these billionaires and all of these government officials going to these climate change conferences are putting more carbon into the atmosphere than the rest of the world combined, almost. I mean, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And of course, Trudeau doesn't pay for his carbon burn. When you pay if you work for the government and you're fueling up a government vehicle or whatever, you pay with a government credit card. So that I'm talking vehicles now. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same, and he's probably and it's even going to be quite a bit more efficient for aircraft. But you pay on a government credit card, and all of the tax that you pay, you get that back. So they don't actually pay any GST or fuel taxes or whatever. That gets JV'd back to the department. So it's a joke that they are putting this burden on the rest of us, but they're doing most of the polluting. And is it polluting too? That's the big question. I just don't. I'm not buying. Climate change is happening, but it's always been happening. If you follow Patrick Moore and William Happer, you'll find that the UN, the government, the world government essentially have glommed onto this idea that isn't scientifically supported and forcing the rest of us to abide by it. So I'm just going to put that out there. I know I'm probably going to lose a lot of people who are like dyed-in-the-wool climate people, and they're going to call me a climate denier. I'm not really a climate denier. I'm just looking at alternative information. And when that alternative information is suppressed, you got to wonder why. Okay, always got to wonder why they're suppressing the alternative information. And what was really kind of funny about this article was that Greta Thunberg was pictured on the front of this article, like the photograph that went with it. And think about it, this Greta Thunberg has traveled around the world doing all of her screaming and squelching about climate change. How much carbon has she put into the atmosphere? It's just insane. And then the article went on to talk about celebrities, and all the celebrities are claiming that they're fighting climate change, that they're doing their part for climate change, but they have a lot of these private jets as well, and they're jet setting around. So I don't think that they should be talking, because they're the ones doing the polluting. So if they want us to drive less, if they want us to not eat meat because of, the cows farting, they should really look in the mirror and just stop their own polluting. It's just it's just a complete joke. We call it weather. That's true. I mean, and that's the thing, right? I mean, throughout history, there's been ups and downs. And if you look at the bigger graph, the longer graph of what's happening, you can't really tell from the bigger graph that we're in a crisis that the world's been through the ups and downs. So I think that it's a real problem to listen to any of these people. And when you read that article, and I will be putting out a video tomorrow on it, and I will link that article in the video. I'm actually just going to go right through the article too, so you won't even have to read it. You'll see it up on screen, and I'll be reading through it. It really does speak to the hypocrisy of all of these people. So had that to say, but I'll probably also cut in a little bit from question period today. I don't have it queued up, but during question period, I know it was a slip of the tongue, but it's funny because Stephen Guilbeault said that he's fighting for climate change. He actually said that. Yes, it was a slip of the tongue. I know he didn't mean it, but it just shows how stupid these people are. When I have a slip of the tongue, I'm not a professional, okay? I didn't go to, media training school, and I don't have a degree in broadcasting from Columbia Broadcasting or whatever, or from, BC, Institute of Technology, BCIT, BC Institute of Technology or whatever. So you expect that sometimes a guy like me, we're going to slip up. We're going to say something that we didn't mean to say because we're thinking too fast or we're thinking on our feet. But Stephen Guilbeault, dude, this guy is a part of government. He's had all of this training and he should know better. But just like Trudeau bumbles all the time. I'm not saying I'm a great public speaker, but if I had that much time in front of the camera and had that much support writing my stuff and preparing me, I would be 10 times the public speaker that Trudeau is. I'm a guy in my my home studio blundering and making mistakes on these live streams and on these other videos, but that's understandable because I'm not a professional. They're in front of the cameras all the time. When they say stuff like that, it just shows how really ridiculous they are, I just have to laugh at them. But anyway, that's, those are the things I wanted to talk about tonight. I guess the other thing to talk about, we kind of covered it on the 7 hours. I can't believe I did 7 hours on Tuesday of the live stream of the election results, and we were quite happy with the outcome. And he ended up getting even more seats over the course of the night. But let me know in the comments, in the chat, what do you think? What is his first 100 days going to look like? That's how they always bring up this first 100 days of a presidency. What are they going to accomplish? He's, obviously Trump, he talks a big game. That's what he does, right? He's and he talks in these absolutes. But what do you think? Will he manage to to get the wars finished? And will he manage to close the borders? And what will that do to Canada? Like, will we see Roxham Road explode again with all of these illegal entries? And how will that how will that be approached? What approach will Canada have to that? Last time we actually saw RCMP constables and corporals being helping these people across the border. How is that even possible? It's so stupid, because they were already in a safe a safe country. Allowing them into Canada was contrary to all of the agreements we had with the United States, with the UN, all of these other agreements. So what's going to, what's going to happen? We're going to get this flood of people who now want to come to Canada. We can't take any more. Pierre's talking about mass deportations as well if he gets in, which is absolutely the right thing to do. And no, I'm not about, I'm not anti-immigration, as people who follow my channel know. My wife's an immigrant. I have no problem with immigration as long as it's done legally and it's a reasonable amount. But if we have all of a sudden, 1 million people come up from the U.S. who are trying to get away from Trump or to avoid deportation, it's not going to be the good people either. It's not going to be the people who can find a legal way into the country. There's going to be a lot of criminals from South America who are jumping the border, people who've been released from prison, and people are going to bring a lot of crime into our country, because so many of the illegal immigrants that have jumped the southern border it's been found that they have been released from prison. So the good people are probably going to take their chances. They're probably going to stay and try to get legal status in the States. The bad people, they're probably going to be the ones that we have to worry about jumping the border at Roxham Road and showing up and causing even more problems than what we have now. So I would say we need a plan. And the fact that the Liberals on Monday, they were saying, we can't release the plan 24 hours ahead of an election. That would be irresponsible. And now, after the election, they're saying, we can't release the plan because we're going to give the criminals a heads up. It's BS. They don't have a plan. Absolute BS. They don't have a plan, and we're going to suffer for it. We don't have the housing, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't, and quite frankly, we don't have the ability to absorb that rapid a change in our demographic either. And that's something that you have to, it's just a reality. The demographics of a country change, and that's a natural thing. And the culture changes. Culture, if you take any cultural anthropology courses, I took one in university, took a couple in university. I actually found them quite interesting. But you realize that culture is everything learned. That's basically what culture is. Well, that means that culture is always going to be evolving, but you can't just force it. And what happens is if you get all the illegals coming in, that's basically forcing a culture on the rest of us that is incompatible. We don't have time to adapt, and that you do need time to adapt. So anyway, that's just kind of my view on that. We can't just open our or not have a plan. because the borders are pretty much open right now, and we have to close them down. So, are you gonna share the dirty channel you were on Tuesday night yet? I'm not sure what that means. Who are you talking to, Delphine? Oh, okay. You're talking to Canada RV. Okay, so I'm just going to go through some of the chat. I have no idea why it's not popping up on the screen, because it should have, but I don't know. Things don't work sometimes. So I think I've said hello to most of these people. Joe, where are you from, Joe? If Joe's still there, it's all story time. I think I've said hello to most of these people. Brad, we talked a bit. Cat in the Hat. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Are you on the other side of the world? Yeah. Let's see. Dara from Kamloops. Welcome. Joe, you're still broadcasting. Well, not from Tuesday, I'm not, just from here. They haven't kicked me off yet. But you never know. Trudeau wants to kick us all off. He wants us to get licensed. You believe that? You know, he wants to license YouTubers. And that's just because he wants to be able to shut them down. That's my opinion. Just cruising down here. Trump has his X-Men now. Yeah, he does have a really good team. I think he's got a really good team. I can't say that I've seen that high profile a team ever before, with all of the people that he's got lined up, with Vance and with Vachon. I can't even pronounce his name sometimes, but Vasarmy, whatever. And Tulsi, and then now Robert Kennedy Jr. And Nicole Shanagan, which I had no clue who she was before she was announced as the running mate to Robert Kennedy Jr. So he's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of talent, and there's a lot more that I'm sure that most people don't even know about. So. Yeah. What do you guys think? Who should be Secretary of State? I think you all know who I am rooting for, but who should be Secretary of State? Put it down in the chat or below, because that is one of the most important positions once you get past, let's say, the vice presidency. And even some might even say that it's even more important than the vice presidency. Who do you think will be Secretary of State? That is going to be a very interesting thing to see. I know it can't be Elon because the Secretary of State is in the line of succession to the presidency, so you have to be born American to occupy that position. I could be wrong about that, but if you're not, then you obviously have to skip over you if it comes to that. Not that it ever has or ever will, but you never know. Okay. I'm just reading what Langton said. Langton Industries. Okay. Mark Carney said on CTV that he's got back to Canada and that he got his carbon tax rebate. So Mark Carney getting carbon tax rebate. Does anybody here just think that is completely stupid? Dude's a billionaire. Yeah. It's yeah. I just can't say anything else about that. It's just going to get me all worked up. Climate control, CIA, 1959. I don't know, like, we all know about cloud seeding, but really don't know about the geoengineering stuff. I haven't looked into it. It seems to me like it's too big of a thing to control, but who knows? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Anything's, there's a lot of things that go on that we don't know about, and a lot of things that we find out about after the fact. Like the internet was around since the 60s, just wasn't used the way we use it. So when you look at things that were around prior to us having access to it, you never really know what's out there. Hello, Liz. Okay. Putin wants to talk to Trump. I see him say it. Yeah, well, he will. Like Putin and Trump, they obviously know each other. I wouldn't, they're probably not friends or anything, but they're two well-seasoned negotiators. With Trump, I think, having the edge. So I think that things will happen quickly. Will it be within his first 100 days? We'll see. But all presidencies they always rank or judge them on their first 100 days. They give them that, they give Democrats 100 days to sort things out. The rest of it, not so much. They don't necessarily give the Republicans 100 days to sort it out. Yeah. Yeah, he still doesn't have a real job. He's constantly on holiday. I think you're talking about Trudeau there, Liz, but who knows? Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's almost been an hour here, so I'm going to call it, and we will see you next week, unless I decide to put in another live show because something extraordinary is happening in the meantime. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the great conversation in the chat. Have a great rest of your week. I'm going to go up and have some dinner and then come back down and work on the video for tomorrow morning. Hopefully I can get it put together, because it's going to be on it's basically, what it's going to be on. I told you before, but we got to talk about, I think we do really need to bring to the forefront how much of a hypocrite these people are, especially Justin Trudeau. And he calls out everybody, but yet he is just so much of a polluter himself. So anyway, also, if you're on the island, you want to take a course, look me up, link in the description to what I teach there, the Canadian Firearm Safety course. Also, if you have any ideas of what to do live stream on, or even a video on, I know I've got a lot of suggestions from y'all, some of which is just takes a bit of time to do research on. So, and because I've got so much other things doing, sometimes some of it I haven't got to yet. So hopefully I'll get to that. But let me know if anything, and because I'm just one guy here, I don't have anybody doing research for me. If I miss something, let me know and I can tune into it later. So I will, I'll call it there for tonight. and wish you guys a very good evening.